Yeah, I think the coaching and the just unbotheredness that comes with running a business that you can't, it's like you can't get too caught up in the personal and the emotional things. I think that's been really helpful for me to see other people who are getting coached as well. Like you kind of like talking them down from like the emotional piece and focusing on the business and saying, okay, well, what strategies, what policies do you have in place? Did you tell them this beforehand? Like all the things that will really keep the relationship professional and focus on the policies and on the business.
Hello, hello, hello. It's Holly Rustick here with grant writing and funding. I'm super excited. I have another Freelance Grant Writer Academy student on the podcast today, and she is absolutely amazing. She does so many different grants, and we really are going to talk about all the different grant writing she does and her experience inside the Academy today. So, welcome, Nija Rivera. And she is the CEO of Gritty Grants Consulting. Welcome, Nija.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so
Glad to
excited
be
to have
here.
you on. We were chuckling in the green room right before we opened up, so we're having a
Yeah.
good time. But I'm so glad that you're here. So can you just give us a little background on your freelance grant writing business, right? Like you put your name together, you got all your things going on. Like tell us
Mhm.
like who you write grants for, where you're located, and got you into it. A little bit of
Yeah,
that.
so yeah, I could tell you all about that. So I am based in Philadelphia, so I do not work exclusively with clients in Philadelphia. I guess the way that I got into grant writing is I've been working for nonprofits. That was like, I guess, my career path. I
Mhm.
went to school. I got a master's in public health because like many young women these days, like I want to help people. I want to help, like
Mhm.
helping profession.
Mhm.
So I started working for nonprofits in Philly, and I worked in different roles. I worked in food security or food access. I worked at one of the dental schools here in Philly. I worked in domestic violence. I worked for a healthcare organization, and so. I got into grant writing because I think a lot of people who work in any of the helping professions, either in public health or social work, probably have come across this where as a program manager, you are also required to at least contribute to the writing of your own grants and to get your own funding. I mean, typically, hopefully there's a team working with you, but
Not
yeah,
always.
so not always. No, not always. So I got an introduction to grant writing really through I had some experience in grad school, but the tried and true, like real, this is how we're going to fund our programming, was through my work experience. And I worked really closely with a Jean. She was the director of development of one of the nonprofits that I worked for, and I just worked closely with her, and I kind of saw this little glimmer of like what I could be doing that wasn't direct program work. So I
Mhm.
kind of after COVID, um, took that and kind of ran with it. A little bit of background about me. I had actually quit my nonprofit job, and
Mhm.
I guess kind of as a little bit of like a Hallmark story, the man who is now my husband, who I was
Ooh.
dating at the time, I was like,
Mhm.
let's move overseas. And we had
Mhm.
wanted to move overseas. And we were fortunate enough to have a situation where he works on ships. He still does.
Mhm.
Um, and so we were able to just kind of like up and move because his work wasn't in one place. So we
Right.
moved to Barcelona, Spain, and I was living my best life, as you might say.
Love it. Yeah.
And I returned to the US right before the beginning of the pandemic.
Mm.
Um, I grew up with my grandmother, was very close with her, and she got a terminal cancer diagnosis.
Mm.
And so I returned to the US in February of 2020, and then March 2020 was
Wow.
COVID. And
Mhm.
so, my plan was to come home and like be of assistance to her and just love on her and spend time with her
Mhm.
in her final months. And that really didn't end up happening because of COVID. And so I was looking for something that was flexible, that I could also spend time with her if she needed me, when she needed me. So I started working in development exclusively,
Mhm.
in domestic violence. And then out of
Mhm.
that, had a few other nonprofit development jobs. And then I finally um, This is sounding kind of sad because this was actually another death in my family that happened that
Yeah.
really made me put my foot down. And it was like, this is working full time, a 9 to 5 where someone owns my time
Yeah.
between these
Mhm.
hours is not for me. And so that's really what made me go like, absolutely not, no more of this. And I started my business the same month.
Wow. And you know what, but I mean that it's life, right? Like, and when we look at wanting to open all the many different reasons for wanting to open up a freelance grant writing business or, working from home, that sort of thing, it's like a lot of it is because we want, there's that theme of having time and flexibility, right? And especially because we want to live. Right? We don't want
Yes.
this work to live, right? Or live to work or whatever it is. Like, you know what I mean? We want to be able to have time because things come up. Like your grandma was sick, right? You were able to spend more time with her and move back, right? Like, and now and then the scene like this isn't exactly, you didn't have all the time you wanted and other things happened, right? And we realize how finite our time here really is. And what do we want to do with that time? We have the amazing benefit of having that choice, right? Like a lot of us do, even if we don't really feel like we do, like compared to living in many other countries, right? Like we do
Mm.
have this amazing, you have a master's degree, right? So it becomes a choice of saying, I could do this. And I love that you bet on yourself to do that, right?
I have that on my little sticky note here. It's my
Oh,
reminder every day. Bet on yourself. Yeah, I'm not going to show you because I don't want my desk to, it's kind of messy, but believe me when I say I wrote it right here. Yes.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, and I'm so sorry to hear about what happened with your family. But taking your life into your own hands now was such a,
Mhm.
like, wow, that's an amazing testament to you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Started
so,
a business.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think I mean, it really like at the time I almost felt like it was like, some people are like, "Oh my God, you're doing so great. Like this is a great thing and you did this and you did that." And I'm like, "No, I literally did this out of desperation because I was about to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
lose it." I was like, "No,
Mhm.
I had to do this because I wasn't gonna last." Like,
Yeah.
so yeah.
No, and that's, I remember even me, I quit my full-time job. I think my daughter was, gosh, 3, something like that at the time, really young, right? And I'm like, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I got to, like, I got to get out of this toxic environment. I've got to, like, like have to earn income.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
must, right? So I think a lot of times too, like you have all the education, you have the background, which is great. But then like how was starting the business? Because you don't have a business background necessarily, right? Like it sounds like your husband might, because he's been doing some things kind of, working on ships or, but it's very different, right? You're a service-based business. Like how was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm still learning
Yeah.
every day. And that is why I joined the academy actually, because and it's so funny the way I found you. I literally was just sitting on the couch. Like, I feel like I'm one of those many, many people who like at night it's like these hours between like 8 and 10 where I'm just like on my phone scrolling, scrolling,
Mhm.
and,
Mhm. Yes.
Amazoning and like all this stuff.
Planning my vacation. It's like 4 months away. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
And like my husband's kind of like, what are you doing over there? I'm like, oh, I'm just looking online. And
Mhm.
so I don't even know what I typed in. It might have been like starting your own grant business or grant writing for newbies or something. And literally you popped up and I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. This lady is doing exactly what I had started to do. But I was like, she trains you how to start your own grant writing business. I was
Mhm.
like, wait a minute. And so by the time I think that was maybe late December, and by the time I got in on I think it was like January 21st or something, like your sales call, you're kind of saying if you sign up today, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, yeah, I'm already signing up. I'm already signing up. Like, you already said all the stuff that I need to know because I have no background in business whatsoever. I know a lot of the grant writing stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I need to know all the business stuff. So yes, 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 I'm signing up. Like
Love
you
it.
didn't need to convince me anymore.
I know you're one of
So
those. I was like, hello and welcome, Nija. She already joined me for the webinar's over, y'all.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I had watched your videos beforehand, and I think everything that you said really spoke to me because I've never taken a finance class. I have no business background, and I don't always think that business is rocket science, but it's definitely, there is a science to it, and I'm still trying to figure out my magic sauce because I follow the program, and I have your book, the grant writing book, but I'm still trying to figure out my secret sauce. So,
Oh, I love it. You're settling into it though. I love that. And yeah, and it is like so much about, business, running a business. It's just a skill. Like it's like, y'all, it's just a skill. We're just going to teach you the skill. Like it's skill to do sales. It's not about, I don't have the personality for it, or I'm not good at talking to people or anything. I'm like, it's just a skill. You learn it just like grant writing. You learn how to do it. There's a formulaic process. Same thing. We can do this. And I don't know if you know this, but we just got approved for GPCI as well, the Grant Professional Certified Institute. So if people are taking their certification, the Academy now offers 31 education credits. So yeah, so if you want those, I got
oh,
you.
okay,
I
yeah,
got you. And part
good
of
to
that is
know.
our business acumen, right? And that's the whole value-based pricing that we do. That's the whole ethical nonprofit sales strategy that we do. So super excited about that. But yeah, let's talk about so you've been in now, it's been about 8, 9 months.
Yeah,
Somewhere?
8, sorry,
Yeah.
I can't count. Yes.
Right.
What you said. What
Something
you
like
said.
that. So yeah, so what have been some of the major takeaways? I mean, I've seen like you've been able to get $55,000 in your business this year,
Mm.
just this year alone. So super awesome. And we're not even done with the year. But what are some of the key takeaways that you found that have been helpful for you?
So my biggest takeaway, and I think part of it came from I think you and I had a conversation just one-on-one, was kind of not. I wouldn't say that I took things personally, but just putting your foot down and kind of putting things on the business. Like, these are my policies. This is what the business does. This is what the
Mhm.
business's policies are. And not and to not get too involved in like the emotional part of it. And back
Mhm.
to what I was saying about young women working in the helping professions or social work or public health, it's like you're kind of trained to care really, a lot about the thing that you're doing, and to care so much that you're willing to sacrifice yourself. That might be
Mhm.
money, that might be
Mhm.
time staying at work until 7, 8 o'clock at night. It might be not taking another job because you feel like you owe it to this job or this
Yeah.
mission to stay. And so you kind of reiterated that for me, but in terms of business. So I had a difficult situation this year where I had to let a client go.
Mhm.
And I did have my moment, and I'm a very emotional person. I'm also an actor as well. So, emotions work for me in other ways.
Mhm.
But in this business, I was working for a client and I really believed in her mission. But, at the end of the day, I think she wasn't ready to bring on a grant writer. Like, I think a
Mhm.
lot of people think, oh, okay, I'll just give you all the stuff and you'll just do it and hand me like this
Yeah.
pretty package thing. And it's like, actually, no, I need your help because I need to know at the heart of the organization, like, what are the programs and what
Right.
is your vision and all these things. And so, long story short, I had to let her go as a client.
Mhm.
And I said to myself, like, I had my day where I was like,
Mhm.
this is not working out. I'm gonna give myself 12 hours to have my emotions about it, and then tomorrow I'm gonna tell her in a very professional way. I don't think this is the right time, and no
Mhm.
hard feelings. I also, you said not to do this, Holly, and I did it. I'll
Oh
tell you what I
no.
did.
Oh
I
no.
gave her a discount.
Oh no.
I gave her
That
a
was
discount.
before when you onboarded her, right? That should have been your red flag.
It should have been, but
Yeah.
see, I learned my lesson
Yeah, you
because
did. You did.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you kind of said, and maybe in different words, but you basically said, like, you want your services to be priced in a way that you can show up for that.
Yeah.
And essentially, I had given her a discount because I was all about, excuse me, the mission and supporting her, but I couldn't. It was a difficult situation, and also I just couldn't show up in the way that I should have been able to for the money that she was paying me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it didn't
Yeah,
work out because she wasn't ready for that anyways, for what your services should have really been charged because of the work that you do to validate those prices, right? So it's also like,
correct.
yeah, embedded the whole thing. It's like a little
And
cycle. Yeah.
I was like, Holly said it, Holly said it. And I was almost like mad at myself
No.
for not, well,
No.
not mad at myself, but it was a lesson learned for
Yeah.
me by myself,
Hmm.
to say like, this is not, you're not going to be able to show up for this because you're going to have an attitude the whole time. They asked you to do,
Hmm.
this and that. And the work that you signed yourself up to do for the price is not, you're not getting paid what you should get paid. So don't do
Hmm.
that to yourself again because you're just going to be
Such a good
bitter.
lesson. Such a good lesson. You know what I mean? Like it sucks to go through it, but and that's how I know all these lessons. That's why I'm like, oh no, I can teach her this up and now because I did that, right? And know how it
Right.
worked out and how it showed up. And it's good to understand that. And then also, do you feel more confident now when you go into discovery calls with your price?
I do. I feel more confident. I feel also, I see what other people are charging, so I feel very confident with my pricing. But I feel confident with my skills, and I just feel like at the end of the day, like you say, it is a business. I cannot run a business with you paying me 40% of what I actually should be getting paid. And there's no hard feelings, but
Yeah.
like we live in a world where we all have, most of us have to make money somehow, and I'm one of those people. And so I have to, make sure that my business is bringing enough money to sustain me so that I can still do this.
Yeah. And
And
show up. Yeah.
one,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
But
and one thing you told me too, that I thought was really helpful, that changed my frame of mind, was you were kind of saying to me like, you deserve to be paid what you're worth, and you can give back to your community in other ways, but not by shorting yourself.
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I
Absolutely.
also keep that in mind as well.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I just had a whole conversation. I was on somebody's podcast the other day and we were talking about that. And I said, yeah, like, in less than a year, I've been able to bring over $500,000 into my local economy. What can I do with that? If I wasn't showing up and able to charge to what I know, and I get a million questions for sponsorships and discounts and all that. I don't do that, right? But now guess what? I can give back, right? I can be a sponsor. I can volunteer on a nonprofit board. I can do all these other things, right? Just kind of how I was telling you, like now I can show up in those ways. Whereas before, yeah, I was volunteering on things like was, stressed about money. That was not a good place for me. I wasn't showing up 100% of how I can. But now I can feel more positive and just generous on giving back and investing in my community, right? When I'm not freaking out about money or having to give discounts or feel like bad if I don't give a discount. Like, I think that's so unhealthy, just to go back to what you were talking about before, right? As far as like, especially women are almost expected to volunteer in many ways, like to work extra hours at a nonprofit, to put in weekend time, to do volunteering on top of working, like, like straight up volunteering, like just going outside of your hours is volunteering, but like straight up volunteering too at events, like, and all of that. And I think we need to break that. We can still support and love those causes, but if we're at the end of the day hardly able to pay our bills or whatever is happening, like how can we show up in a more empowered way? We cannot. We cannot. We're being taken advantage of. So I love that that's sitting with you as well, because and you're like, nope, that's gonna help with my confidence. And to know like your prices are, they're still good prices. It's not like we're saying, oh, price like crazy high that nobody can afford. We're not saying that either. But it's like there's like that sweet spot that you said you're still like settling towards, right? On what that looks like. But I love that that's been helpful to you to, you can show up more. And how do you feel like now that because your prices have changed, right? And you're not giving the discounts like before. Right.
No, I'm not giving the discounts. To be really honest, I just worked on a pretty big, um, it wasn't a federal grant, but it was a federal like agency,
Mhm.
very large grant. And I said, you know what? I'm raising my prices because
Yes.
I'm raising them again because
Mhm.
for the value for what I delivered and was able to bring to, it was a proposal development team essentially. I was
Mhm.
like, this is more valuable than what I even was charging a few months ago this summer,
Yeah.
for example. So, and it's not even about being greedy. It's just really,
No.
being able to show up and say, like, "This is what my services are worth," and
Mhm.
stand by that.
Yeah,
So
really knowing the value of your services, right? And
mhm.
understanding it does take time, it takes dedication. I'm in a coaching program, like, you know what I mean? Like you're investing in yourself and in your business too. So to know that you're doing that and being professional about it, you also need that compensation to show up, right? I think
Correct.
it's so
Yeah.
important. Yeah, it's so important. I love that. So, and I think we also, did you do coaching when you let that client go in the Slack channel?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that because we because we have a daily Slack channel and you can do like when you're going through things like that, right? Because it is
Mhm.
emotional. It's hard to let clients go. Like, let's be real. Sometimes it's easy, but sometimes usually it's still like I got to have an uncomfortable situation or conversation is what we're kind of looking at. And how do I have that? So I think you even got coaching around that. Like, how do I even have this conversation? Do you remember some of that?
Yeah, I think, again, it went back to kind of, like, taking the emotion out of it and just
Mhm.
saying, even at I mean, this isn't a good it's not working out for the client. It's not working out for me. Maybe it's not a good business decision at this point. And I remember saying to myself to kind of like calm down and not get so caught up because I think you coached on this last week or maybe this was 2 weeks ago where you were kind of saying to someone like just stay professional and focus on the facts. Don't get caught up in the well last week you said this and you're trying
Yeah.
to and it's like that stuff, it gets to you, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna serve you to lead
Mm.
with that. You know,
No.
lead with and that's what I did. I think what you coached me on was kind of like leading with the facts and like what I'm seeing right now is that this is not a good time. And I think
Yeah.
for both you and for me, you
Mhm.
know, maybe this is something we could pick up at a later date. I don't think I would necessarily want to do that with this client, but like, kind
Yeah.
of just like put it as if it's not a win-win, how can we rectify that?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I love that.
yeah.
I love that so much. Yeah, and just to know like you can go into those conversations and they don't always have to be awkward or feel emotional or feel like, oh my gosh, like how could I let this person go, or how could I say no, or they're kind of putting me in a corner to give a discount. How do I like not respond yes right away because we're so used to just saying yes, right? As well. So I
Mhm.
love that, just like the coaching around it. Is that what you found has been really helpful, is like going through and seeing how to set your business up with more systems, but also just the coaching. It sounds like you've really benefited from tapping into that.
I th I think yeah, I think the coaching and the just unbotheredness that comes with running a business that you can't it's like you can't get too caught up in the personal and the emotional things.
Yeah.
I think that's been really helpful for me
Mhm.
and to see other people who are getting coached as well. Like you kind of like talking them down from like the emotional piece and focusing on the business and saying, okay, well, what strategies, what policies do you have in place? Did you tell them this beforehand? Like all the things that will really keep the transaction, or not the transaction, but the relationship professional and focus on the policies and on
Mhm.
the business.
Mhm. Yeah. So
Because it
good,
can
right?
feel very personal. Yeah, yeah. It
Yes.
can feel very personal, but
Oh yeah. I can feel like they're hiring me. It's like, no, they're hiring your business. What does your business have in place? And yeah, there might have been like that wasn't really cool what they did, but at the same time, did you communicate right? That you don't want them to do that? Like you don't want them to send you a grant at the last minute? Like, do they even know that? Right. So it's also taking the responsibility of owner, right? And I think that's so
yeah.
nice to keep like that neutral feel. It really helps get out of the cycle of maybe a paralysis that might happen, right?
Mhm.
Like we start spinning out with the emotions. Um, because we're human, of course, we're gonna have emotions about things, but sometimes we don't need to like lean into that. We can lean into other things that are a little more neutral. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that. So good.
yeah.
And I'm so glad to see like, yeah, your business is doing well. Like it's doing well. How are you feeling? Like where you were when you started your business and where you are today? Like, what's the difference?
I'm
Mhm.
well, I'm still by no means am I like I've got it all figured out. I'm still figuring out a
Yeah.
lot of things, and that's actually one thing I like though is I can kind of like change with what is working for me and things that aren't working, leave those things behind.
Mhm.
Um, I think. I have some things that I want to do in my business. Like, I think, I I don't think this was recorded, but we talked a little bit about changing from grant writer to grant strategist.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
have a background in some background in proposal development, and I want to lean into that more. Oh no, I think you might be frozen, but um, are you still there?
Oh, there we are. Sorry, we cut
Oh,
out for a
okay.
minute.
Okay.
So there you are.
Wasn't sure if you're still there. I think I want to lean into that more, but what I like is that I can do that because
Yeah.
it's my business and it feels really good to have control over my day. And I don't know
Mhm.
how many people or how many times I've heard, and this was me too when I, was working full time for organizations like, oh, well, why do you have to go to this training? Or why did your boss? Or why do you have to do this? And you don't even know. You're just doing it because somebody higher up told you to do it. It's a waste of time to you. You're not into it, but you just have to do it. And now everything that I do serves me in some way or another, serves my business in some way or another. I know exactly why I'm doing it. I
Mhm.
know, how it's going to help my business. There's no questions on like, does this make sense for me? It's all, you know, driven by me.
Mhm. I love that so much. It's so good. Yeah. And now you're like driving all the decisions of what you want to do. So, and
Yeah.
even saying, I can change my business. It can evolve. It will evolve. Right. And to like lean into that, that's really, really good. So
I
good.
wanna
So what about Barcelona? Anything, any other plans now that now you have a business too that's very virtual? Yeah.
well, you know how life happens. um, I my husband landed a job where we have to stay in one place
Oh,
now.
now you guys switch roles.
So now we're kind of I have traveled while I worked.
Mhm.
Um, you know what? I'm sure I'll be asking for coaching on this at some point, but I did this knowing that I was going to have to work. I traveled recently and I did work while I was traveling.
Mhm.
It just
Mhm.
happened to be it ended up being a very busy grant submission time.
Yeah.
But I was happy that I was able to do that. But next time
Makes
I want to
sense.
do it and not work. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all the things you talk about relying on policies and not people, I'm trying to build that so that the next time I go to Puerto Rico, I'm out on the beach and not working.
Oh, I can help you set that up. Yeah, we will definitely get
I
your
know you
policies
can.
together. Yeah.
I
So,
know you
because you
can.
took a work vacation, you didn't take a vacation, you need a
Correct.
vacation, which work vacations are fun too. Like as long as you know that that's going to happen. I'll still be working, but I'll go and, I'll have dedicated time to work. But then if you want a true vacation, we got to set that up a little bit differently, but it's totally doable. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm working towards.
Love it. Love it. Let's get you one by the end of Q4. So,
Yes.
so yeah, time for that. All right. So people are thinking about, same, maybe similar position to you where they're like, I just really, maybe they have a background of grant writing, maybe not, but they just don't really have the business experience. And they're thinking, I really want something that can help support me in this. Like, what would be your number one reason to join the academy of like learning more about how it's helped you?
Yeah, I think, and I definitely don't think there's a one size fits all. I think even like in the academy, there are a lot of people who have different backgrounds and different
Mhm.
desires of what they want to do with their grant writing business. But I do think it gives you a framework to work with and you can use it and then run with it with whatever your niche is or your business idea. So I think for me, it's just having that support, knowing that I can always go back to the group because it
Mhm.
can feel really lonely, like a black hole if you're just starting this
Mhm.
business and you aren't a part of. I always say to people like, "Oh, I'm a part of this like worldwide grant writing professionals group." And so like, I had my call on Tuesday nights and, I asked the group da 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 da, and this is what they said. So it just
Mhm.
feels really like it's almost like being a kid and your parents like put you out there in a sport and you just see them like cheering in the stands. It's like they're not performing with you or like playing the game with you, but they're out there. And I feel like that's kind of how the academy is. It's like you're out here, yes, you're running your business on your own, but you always have those people in the background on the sidelines cheering for you that you can go to for advice and support.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, we definitely have the hype people.
Yeah.
We got the hype community in there. Like, you want a hype girl? We got them. We got
Yeah.
them in there right for you. So I love that
Yeah.
so much. And I love that you take advantage of coming in the Slack and also going to the calls. So that's been really, really great. Anything in the curriculum that you've been like, oh yeah, this has like been a game changer?
To be honest, I feel like I always go back to the curriculum and I'm still always trying to wrap my head around like exactly like how I can fit my business into the framework. And I think where I've come is that I don't necessarily have to fit it, you know, T for T into the framework, but
Mm-mm.
it just gives me something to go off of. So I still go back to the materials as if I looked at them for the first time because I'm always
Yes.
reevaluating what can work for me.
Yeah. And
Um,
as your business
yeah.
evolves, that's normal, right? Like I say
Oh,
that,
okay.
go back through. Yeah. Even like you need another unique industry concept or a change statement, like because you have a new offer, go back through it, right? Go back through that and then submit it again to get reviewed so we can look at that. Or if you're wanting to, you're like, you know what, I think I want to add this service, or you know what I mean? I want to like change what I'm doing, or maybe my who has changed or my tool. So running your business back through that to get feedback on it, right? So you can know like, okay, so is my pricing good? Is all the things good? Like, how does this look? And getting feedback on that. I know you've been able to use that too for business reviews, which I think has been really helpful to see your business on the other end too, right? So I can
Yeah.
see the details of your business because you show me your service plan and everything, and to be able to get feedback on that end. Yeah.
I think it's really helpful too to see other people's business
Mm,
reviews.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
In the
grant
Slack
reviews
channel.
as well. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you're a lurker. You're a lurker in Slack. I like it.
Yeah.
No, that's
Speaking
why
of
we put them
lurking.
there. Yeah, it's why that we put them there because it is so beneficial for other people to see it. So you can be like, oh, okay, just scrolling through and seeing like, oh, they got a grant review. What's some of the feedback they got? How are they doing things? How are they setting up their services? What's the feedback they got? Like so good, right? To be so I
Yeah.
always look and I when I scroll through that too to see like, okay, and I'll see like a lot of people because it's in Loom are also looking at that.
Oh,
It's
right.
not just the person. Yeah, it's not just, they're always like, you're not the only lurker. So
Okay.
yeah, and that's what it's there for. So I'm happy people are doing that. So it's not like coaching that just goes to one person because it can be applied for so many, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so good. Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for being in the academy. It's so great to get to know you and to see
Yeah.
help you with your business. And yeah, we'll just keep helping you get that vacation set up, the true vacation.
Oh, yes, the true
Yes.
vacation.
The true vacation and the magic sauce sweet spot for all of your services as you keep evolving them. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you. Anything else you want to
Thank you
add
so
for
much.
people who are watching and where they can find you, all of the things?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so my business is called Gritty Grants Consulting. It is grittygrants.com. And
Mhm.
one thing I wanted to add is you never know who is watching. We were talking about lurking on the Slack. Um, I've actually been really active on LinkedIn since I started my business, and I've actually gotten clients, um, new clients that I've never met before, but also clients of, for example, an old coworker of mine. Um,
Mm.
that I hadn't seen maybe 10 or 12 years, and she, recommended her, organization to me, and I worked with them this summer, so you
Oh,
never know who's
good.
watching, try different avenues for networking and for getting your business out there because people you might not realize, but people are kinda, they keep tabs, so
They do. And LinkedIn, I love that you brought up LinkedIn. Like we recommend that for all y'all to be on
I'm
LinkedIn.
on LinkedIn as well, yes.
Yes, yes. We'll put all the links in the show notes. But yeah, I mean, that's a great place just because I find even when people are Googling, LinkedIn comes up even before websites sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's so and then people like to click there because it's like a bio or a resume that they can see at a click of a button. So it is interesting to see. I'm seeing a lot of people in the academy getting cold clients through LinkedIn that they don't even necessarily market to on LinkedIn. It's just because they're there. Right. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool too. I love seeing that. And then we drop in like every 90 days. Hey, go follow each other on LinkedIn, make sure you guys are connected on LinkedIn and see what, supporting each other that way publicly. So it's kind of fun too to see that. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I have a
Love
lot of
it.
new friends on LinkedIn from the academy.
Yeah, love it, love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for coming on the Grant Writing and Funding podcast, and I'll see you back inside the Freelance Grant Writer Academy.
Awesome, thank you, Holly. Talk
Thanks,
soon.
Naija.